Donald Glover has both a celebrated acting and musical career, but his Emmy-winning show Atlanta only lasted until season 4. Glover not only portrayed Ernest Marks, the music manager lead character in Atlanta, but he also served as the show's creator, showrunner, writer, executive producer, and sometimes director. Atlanta ran from 2016 to 2022, earned several accolades, and featured a brilliant cast supporting Glover, including Get Out's Lakeith Stanfield. While many were disappointed that Atlanta Season 4's finale was the end, Glover was one of the few who was ready for it to wrap up. Atlanta's best episodes delved into many types of stories, ranging from heavier topics like slavery and racism, to more light-hearted subjects such as getting a haircut before an important event. Although Atlanta was full of darker moments, the unique comedic angle made the show both comical and thought-provoking. Glover was the driving force of Atlanta, but surprisingly, the actors' preferences about the show's end were different from its actual fate. Atlanta was always supposed to run for as long as it did. Despite Glover's initial plans, Atlanta ended when the story was finished. Originally, Donald Glover wanted Atlanta to end with Season 2, according to an interview he gave during FX's segment of the Television Critics Association Winter Press Tour in 2022, via Variety. However, this was thankfully not the case, as the show continued for 2 more installments before it ended. Glover stated that, when the conditions are right for something, they happen, and that he thought the show wrapped up perfectly. Every season of Atlanta was solid, but it would have been very different if it ended with Season 2 instead. The story was always planned to be the length it was, but it took 4 installments to achieve, rather than 2. Glover also explained he didn't like to carry things out if he didn't feel any longevity, because things start to get weird, which made a lot of sense. Atlanta ended at its peak, and while it was a controversial choice, Glover believed it was the right time. Dragging out a narrative unnecessarily can be fatal for a TV show, and it was reassuring that Glover also confirmed that his deal with Amazon didn't impact his decision to bring Atlanta to an end. Glover and the other writers used their own experiences to influence Atlanta, which made the overall story feel more natural. I love Atlanta, but I'm glad that the show ended at the right time. Glover's decision to wrap things up with Season 4 was the correct one. Darius driving a smoking pink car in Atlanta's Season 4 finale. While Atlanta Season 4's alternate ending was definitely interesting to hear about, the actual ending was much better. The show's last episode focused on Darius, but it also saw Ern and Vanessa finally reunite, too. It was intriguing that Glover chose for Darius to take center stage in the finale, especially when he played the main character, but it also proved why Atlanta was one of Lakeith Stanfield's best TV shows. Darius offered a unique perspective on it would often be irritating for a TV show to use the "it was just a dream" trope, but it strangely worked for Atlanta, and the ambiguity of the finale was a great way to end things. The show was always rather unpredictable, and the ending reflected this, too. While some stories could have continued, like Vanessa and Ern's, it's worth asking whether extending them would have brought anything new to the table. Across Atlanta's 4-season run, audiences learned more about these characters and formed connections with them, and the show's end encapsulated their respective journeys well. I would not mind Atlanta coming back in some form eventually. Glover sparked hope for a return when Atlanta's end was announced. Donald Glover as giving a stern look in Atlanta. In the same interview with FX, Glover acknowledged Atlanta ever potentially returning to screens. The showrunner claimed that he'd bring back Atlanta if there was a reason, like a Christmas special. While this narrowed down the conditions he'd require to reboot the show, Glover's comments proved that it wasn't impossible that Atlanta would return at some point. While I thought that the finale was fantastic, I also wouldn't hate it if Atlanta made a comeback in the future. I really enjoyed Atlanta's anthology episodes, unlike a majority of audiences, and if the show were to return for a one-off special like this, I'd definitely tune in. However, if the audience was that against another anthology episode, it'd also be great to see some more filler installments. Perhaps episodes that focused on one character and allowed viewers to catch up with who they've become since the finale, for example. While I have always agreed with Donald Glover's choices with Atlanta, I'd also happily see the show return.